Hi. Today I want to talk about faith and trust and why faith and trust is one of the core and most foundational pieces in creating a beautiful life and also a beautiful, intimate relationship with another as well. Now, I believe that when there has been a severing or a fracture within our own self-trust, that this is reflected back to us in the people that we choose to move into relationship with, and also whether or not we can truly trust another with our hearts. And so, for example, if you're somebody that has chosen a good man and you haven't repaired your own self-trust from a previous relationship that may have been abusive or hurt, then you're going to project a lot of your pain onto this man and not be able to fully trust him and his leadership. No matter how good of a man he is, no matter what he gives you, no matter how much provision he has over your head, there will still be an aspect where you fear something like perhaps betrayal or something happening that he may not ever do. And so when a woman repairs this self-trust and even any fractures that she has with God the Father, what happens is that it restores her faith in herself. And so she starts to repair any hurts and betrayals and pain within herself. And so in that, she can then trust her partner more. And even if something does happen in the relationship, she knows that she will be okay because she has herself and she trusts herself. A lot of the time when a woman doesn't trust herself, even, she looks for this in a partner. And if she's single, she goes seeking for safety and somebody to trust when there's that void inside of her that she hasn't filled yet. And so there ends up being like this codependency piece in there as well, which isn't great for anybody in a partnership. And so with all of that, I wanted to touch on God the Father and why I believe a woman's repair with her connection with God the Father is important. Now, I see God as the holy divine inside of us. I don't see it as don't see him as this thing outside of us, not a statue, not this anything. I believe that we connect into our faith, we connect into our spirit. I believe we connect into God the Father through connecting into our own devotional heart. And then when we connect into God the Father, any pain, hurt, and fractures that we may also have with men, we begin to heal. As we start to forgive ourselves as women for how we have showed up for the men in our lives, the betrayals that we have affected others with, as we start to forgive ourselves, we start to de-armor our hearts and our bodies, and we start to see men differently because we also seek their forgiveness for how we've showed up in the past or with them. And through this, there's a deeper devotional aspect that comes online for the feminine, and she emits a deeper, more loving and respectful energy towards the masculine which also has her drop into more receptivity and invites the masculine energy in. So with that, I wanted to touch on powerful women and how sometimes powerful women are seen as very masculine and not feminine enough. And this isn't always the case. I believe that this work, this deepening into the feminine polarity, this deepening into love, is important for every single woman on the planet. I believe that when we love ourselves well, when we can open our hearts to our own faith and to deepen in our own self-trust, we can love our men so more deeply and so more beautifully and respectfully that things become better and things become hotter and things become just a lot more playful and joyful, because there's that sway, there's that dance between two people rather than butting heads. And so I was saying that, you know, these women in leadership, they can go and dominate in their leadership, and then they can go home and behind closed doors, they can be this most beautiful, seductive, succulent woman with their man. Like, I don't believe a woman has to choose. It just depends who you are, how you're wired, and what you want. And so, you know, so if you see a woman, for example, and she's like this beautiful, energetic, feminine woman, and there's this spite towards her, it's like, okay, so identify how you're feeling, which is how you're feeling, and it's your own triggers, and it's okay. And then ask yourself, who do I need to become to have what she has? It's not about what do I have to do, it's who do I need to become within. And this is whether you're single, this is whether you're in partnership. Who do you need to become to have what it is that you desire in intimacy? Who do you need to become to have what it is that you desire in your relationship, in life, in all the things? It's an embodiment that once you become the embodiment and you bring these energies through you, you start to emit these energies and you start to change, and your body starts to soften and your speech starts to change, and you shift into this beautiful magnetic woman, and you attract in what is for you as well. And I think this is an important piece that I remind women of all the time. It's not about what do I have to do to be more feminine. It's who do I need to become is the question. And what I have found personally around my own journey and deepening into the feminine polarity is where there's constriction in my body, where I'm still holding on to pain and trauma with the masculine, getting into these parts, getting into my psyche and clearing them out creates space. And when we create space in our bodies, we create space for him. We create space for us to be penetrated. We create space for us to be devoured. We create space for us to be seen, because we see ourselves and we're not constricted and not moving from that place and communicating from that place. We're creating space so we can breathe. And I remember the first time after years where I connected into my heart, and I moved into this practice where I pushed my shoulders back and I was breathing into my heart, and I felt my heartbeat for the first time in years. Now, of course, it beats every day, but because I had been so closed and my body was like, there was closure. It's like my heart was closed. I didn't want anyone to see me. I didn't want to feel anyone. I didn't want to reveal anything. And I did this practice. I moved into this practice and I had my shoulders back and I could feel my heart like boom, 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 boom. And it was the most healing, peaceful, erotic few minutes that I'd experienced in such a long time. And it was a moment that I realized just how much I had been missing out on because of my closure, and how much love I wasn't open to receiving from life, from God, and the gifts he wanted to bring me, and the love that he wanted to bring me through others as well. And I started to practice opening. I started to practice revealing a little bit, and then a little bit, and then a little bit. And then something would happen and I'd feel a closure. Ouch. Nah, not doing that. Mm-mm. And then I would practice opening just that 10% more again. Breathe. It's okay. It's okay. You're safe. And this was the practice, and this is still a practice. I believe it's a practice for all women. You know, men are going to drop you. The person that you love is going to drop you, and it's going to feel like an ouch sometimes. And sometimes you're just going to want to stomp your feet and you're going to be like, excuse me, or you're going to want to go the other way and just, pots and pans in the sink and, whatever your thing is. But it's like, in those moments, where can you really be in those moments of that ache, really sit in your trigger and receive this man in front of you and feel yourself at the same time without walking away, without going and banging pots and pans, and feel the truth of the moment and share that truth in the moment through your feelings rather than through your resentment. And it's a practice, and it's a practice, and it's beautiful, and it's messy, and it's divine. And this is the feminine. This is the beauty of the feminine, and loving all aspects of her. And again, it's a practice. And for a man to be able to receive and be more of a yes to these parts it feels, I'm going to say heart opening. It feels erotic. It feels amazing to be received in all of who you are. And at the same time, when you're revealing as a woman, when you're sharing as a woman, to be received, there's also a way of communicating what you're feeling, how you're feeling, and all the things, So where can you be more of a yes to him, and where can he be more of a yes to you? Even in the moments that don't feel good and that we find it difficult to receive our partners, where can you be more of a yes to her, and where can you be more of a yes to him? Now, I'm going to feel into and see if there's anything else that I wanted to add to that. The other thing actually that I do want to add to this I'm going to call it a little training today. It's more of a training, is something for the masculine. And I had shared a YouTube video on this last year, and this particular video has got more views on it than any of my other videos, and more comments on it from men than any of my other videos. And I thought I would do a little fresher here about what I shared, because there are some really great tips here for men that are good men and that want to love you well. So I'll say it another way. If you're a man and you're here and you desire to love your woman well, here are a few tips for you to bring into your relationship to be able to hold a safe container for your woman in moments where she may be feeling anxious, in moments where there's a bit of tension between you both, and where a container needs to be set for communication and for just energy to be cleared out between you both. So where there's been friction, where there's been tension, where there's been communication breakdown, if a man is leading the relationship, the man sets the container. And he will say something along the lines of, honey, I would like to sort this out. I finish work at 6 o'clock. I'd like us to be talking at 6:15 about this. So please be available at that time. So you're a master of time and space. You tell her what's going on, and she's aware and she feels safe because you've created that container. And then when she's in front of you and you are about to engage in, you're going to engage in conversation, it's really important for a man to be rooted in his groin. It's really important for a man not to be in his head. It's really important for a man to be the mountain for his woman, because in this way she feels safe. In this way, there's a grounding for her if she gets all up in her head and she gets all anxious. It's really, really important that you keep the energy down and keep your breath deep. So deep breaths. And that's because the person with the deepest breath is the one holding the masculine pole. So if she's feeling anxious, you can bring her down just through your breath. Isn't that amazing? Like, it's just amazing. and keep that breath deep with her. Now, also important to keep structure and to have you facing her. So if you're like this and you're talking to her, it's not going to feel good. It's like you're not receiving her and your structure isn't like forwards facing, and then deep breaths and rooted in your groin. Not much, man. Might be just a little bit of practice here, but no, it can get a lot. It can really get a lot, and it's great practice for you to do this. And then just start open communication with her. If you can hold this energy in yourself, in the container, and, if she's got into a bit of a trauma state or something's happened, by you holding this energy and penetrating her with it through the way you're sitting and the way you're being with her, your energy will actually start to dissolve that trauma in her body. And it'll start to dissolve it and create space within her to receive more of you. So she starts to invite you in, because the feminine is the one that creates the invitation for intimacy, right? If she doesn't want to let you in, you're not going anywhere. You're like, no, you stay there. And so this is really important to remember as well. Like, if you can hold deep presence with her in the ways that I had mentioned, her body will start to flower open and she will start to trust you more. And so the other thing is also the less that you fidget, the more that she's going to trust you. So if you're doing all this and you're talking to her, it's quite a feminine way of being, right? I mean, feminine's kind of energetic and she's like, oh, but if you're a man doing that, it doesn't feel safe to the feminine. And so, yeah, the less that you fidget and the more eye contact that you can keep with her as well. And that's it for the basic pointers. Yeah, they're the few things I wanted to share today about that. This is really important. I'm actually thinking about even doing a training for men on this because we need this. When I have been in a space with a man and there's been like, you know, even if it's like speaking, just talking to a man and he's all fidgety and he's doing all the things and his presence and attention isn't on me when I'm speaking, I'm like frustrated and I'm just like, you know, like what's going on here? And it's really important to build that trust with the feminine that you are so present with her. And one last thing that I'll add to this as well is that women get frustrated when they're not attracting in present men. And I'm not saying in moments that men can't be present, but generally speaking, if you're attracting in men that just don't have the capacity to be present with you or aren't present with you, I would look at where you're not present with yourself in your own body, where you're not present with your own heart, and look at these parts. It's the same with attracting in emotionally unavailable men. It's like, okay, so where are you emotionally unavailable to yourself? Which parts of you are you still emotionally unavailable to? Which parts are you not bringing awareness to, not bringing love to, and not really allowing yourself to open to yourself and see yourself? Because these are the parts that will be reflected back to us through the partners that we choose. And I'm going to leave this training here, and I hope that it has been amazing for you to listen to. It has been packed with goodness, and I hope that you received exactly what you needed for this. And by the way, if you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, you can totally do that just under my name, Eleni Kansos. And I'm sending you all a ton of love, and I will see you all again soon.